Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel, Soulish Femme. Okay, if this is your first time, I would like to welcome you on this channel. Let's address the white elephant in the room. I'm not talking about the shirt that I'm wearing, but let's just discuss about the specific role of a husband and a wife. The problem, if you allow society to tell us of what a woman should be and how a wife should be and the roles that she has to play, then there is a big convoluted out there, because this is the kind of progressive socialist that is anti-biblical. But if we stick to the Bible, truly, this is the problem that feminist movement was ruining some women. Not to say that I am not for women or empowerment for women's words and speech. However, now we have a man who desire for women to do all the work for them, do the laundry, cook for you, wash the dishes, scrub the toilet, pick up your son, drop off your son, help your thing at home, and then they just come home, bring the bacon home, and then they also want you to work and then do the whole thing, the whole enchilada. So this is my problem, is that we now don't have a clear idea. But when you look at the Bible in Titus, the woman's job is supposed to be to love their husbands. But if your husband is not picking up the slack and he's not a good leader, how can you possibly do that? Love your children. She must be chaste and a stay home. It says that she has to be a homemaker. Do you know that as a woman, one of the greatest ministry God has given us is to be a wife and a mother? Yes, you don't have to travel abroad to have ministry. Your ministry as a wife is equally important. Your wifehood and your motherhood are ministries that God has provided for you. And do not allow society, my dear friends, daughters of God, to tell you and rob us of what we have in this world, because the world is going to dictate and tell you, and they're going to taint the idea of how God created a man. A man's job, where God has started, is that he asked Adam to toil under his brow for the rest of his life, which means to say he is so a provider and a protector. But as I said, because of the society has twisted and tainted this whole idea, this is why women are now confused. Now you see women as masculine and then feminine. Some women have to put on the pants because a man can't do the pants. I've seen it too in my own life, where a man, I grew up with a fatherlessness in my home, where my mom had to raise 4 kids because he's irresponsible. So of course my mom had to put on the pants. So she exudes this masculinity because she has to. And then when you encounter a woman like that, some men are intimidated because she is so strong. Because a man also is passive aggressive. I have realized in my own observation, there are 4 types of men. 1, a grandiose narcissist. You will know that he's all about him. The world revolves around him. At least you know what to expect. He is all about his car, his hair, his looks. The second one is the covert narcissist, which is very tricky. Okay, the covert is the deadly. Silence can become deadly because they will not tell you who they are until such time that they will gain your trust. And after they have gained your trust, then the switch is flipped. The script has flipped, my dear. And now they're going to shed all these snakes coming out, and they're going to show you who they really are. At first, you thought to yourself, you have won a lottery. This guy is charming, good looks. I mean, he just rushed through getting you involved with him, not realizing that he has one motive, right? Either to use you, and after he uses you, he can just dump you and ditch you when he's tired of you. So that's the second kind of a man that I have encountered in my life. The third kind that I've also encountered is the passive aggressive. Yes, the passive aggressive. Have you heard of them? He just allowed the woman to dictate, and he is emasculated by this woman. The woman is become a mother. So what this woman do? She would spoil him, treat him like a kid, buy these things for him, and I'll give you all you want so that you just don't have to leave me. These are insecure women because they think that a man is gonna stay loyal to them if only she would give me everything that I want. But the problem is a passive aggressive. They're like a kid. Okay, they are insecure too. They don't have respect for other women but themselves. They're full of themselves. The same thing with Adam. He could have just said to the woman, get away from the serpent, woman. He is not safe. But what did Adam do? He just stood there and saw the whole thing, that a woman was talking to the serpent. Why was he not open? Why did not Adam open his mouth and said, get away from the serpent? You are in trouble. But that's what we have today. Some men are narcissistic, passive aggressive. They don't want to take responsibility. So what they do, they're Adam's sons, that they would pick and point the finger and says, you're the problem. The same thing with Adam. You're the problem. So when God asked Adam, what have you done? Instead of saying, it was my fault, God. Typical men, some men. I'm not saying that all men are like this. I'm going to get to the fourth point. Instead of saying, it was my fault that I did not protect the woman. It was my fault that I didn't open my mouth. It was my fault that I didn't protect her and says, stay away from the serpent. Because we do have serpents in our lives. And they all come with forms and shapes. And that's what happens, that all men, not all, some men will blame you. They will not going to take accountability. They will not apologize. Whatever abuse that they will do to you or say things, gaslight you, bring up your past, they will never, because they are the sons of Adam. Fourthly, the kind of man that we hope to wish to want to be with is Jesus. Can you just imagine if all men in the world are like Jesus? There will be no divorces. There will be no problem in a relationship, because when you look at the Bible, Jesus is the defender for women. When these narcissistic goons came after the woman with adultery, she was dragged in front of this Pharisees, Sadducees, drag her out. Okay? And I was thinking to myself, what happened to the man? I mean, a woman couldn't just have sex by herself, but then here comes Jesus, ignore them, because Jesus perceived that he was being set up by this narcissistic, self-righteous man who dragged this woman in front of him saying, according to the law of Moses, we are going to cast stone to this woman until she's dead. That is very sexist. That is misogynistic. It is so true that however you are raised by a mother, if you raised a son not to be a man, that boy is going to be always a boy. We are raising men supposedly in this generation, not boy that will pacify their emotional turmoil, and they're going to just suck their thumb because they want to be pacified by their emotion. This is why I see a lot of men who have a grown body but emotionally up here, they're so immature. They're always triggered. They can't take criticism because they are pacified, especially with a golden child who has been catered all his life. Everything what he wants, it's given to him. He's never taught about responsibility. Everything has to be handed over to him as a silver platter. And when he becomes a man and he has a family and he is only the one who has to make provision, he complains of how hard his life is and how dare a woman is not providing. Because he is blind, he thinks he's the only one who gives the sacrifices. Because narcissist people are so blind. They think you're not doing all the sacrifices. They want all the kudos to them. They want all the adulation given to them. But when it comes to what your sacrifice, they don't care. They don't see it. They're blind. They will play this same victimhood mindset saying, it's woe is me. Everything I do is for you. But they will not see your effort. They will not even recognize they were never going to acknowledge what you have done. It's windy right now. And this is the reason why we have to address this issue. Because this is the kind of thing we have to deal with in our society. I wish I have known these things before I got married, but nobody told me this, because you live as you go, you learn and you live. And this is the kind of things that if I have a daughter, I'm going to make her aware of it. So, and next thing that you know is that you will never compromise to what you want. It is the biggest mistake of a woman to rely on a man, especially when you want something to do with your life. The problem is, now you're married and now they give you a baby, right? And then he robs you of everything and he's just going to leave you alone, right? He's just going to leave you at his own convenience because he just want to run away from his responsibility. And what does a woman left? Instead of her focusing on her career, she has to give it all up because now she can't do all the things that she needs to do. And that's why some women are being so confused of how should be a woman today, because there's no clarity, because society has told us that a woman should be empowered. She could be everything and anything for everyone. But the problem is a woman is also human. She becomes fragile. She's also needs a lot of help, and she's not a man. And you wonder why a woman is so depleted of energy. At the end of the day, she is cranky, she is unmotivated, she has nothing left to give you. It's because you run her down ragged. And we need more men who is going to be like a man, who stop crying and being so entitled. And what happened to the old man who loves to just work and not complain? But we do have see a lot of boys today who loves to just self-pity party, always saying woe is me, equal opportunity. That's the problem of socialists. That's how socialists think. Socialists think everybody has to be equal. Yes, we're equally created in the image of God, but equity, we have different roles to play. People think that women can be men and men cannot be women. This is the lie from the pit of hell that we have to address. A man cannot be a woman and a woman cannot be a man. I don't care if you're going to hate me for it, but that's the truth. And I'm going to stick to this Bible whether you like it or not, because I know how God defined this. And so that's exactly what happens if the church is not teaching younger women of how they should act. Society, the world, Satan is the system of Satan himself. Who's going to tell us what you must do in this life? And this is what I said. Some men become feminine, and now some women becomes masculine, because we don't know what's right and what's wrong anymore, because we allow societies, celebrities to dictate us of who we should be in this world. If you're a child of God, you should stick to this Bible. Because why? The Bible is the only truth. It's absolute. It's never going to lie. And that's why I don't care whether or not you agree with me or not, but I know my role as a wife. I know exactly where God put me here. And if you have a problem with that, and you have a problem with me, oh, she has to do this and she has to do that, take it to God. Because my job is to please God, not of men. If I did the job that I could to support my family by doing the household work, which God said in his word, then you know what? I'm just going to let God judge me. But let not men judge you. According to the Bible, if you judge someone, first of all, take the speck out of your eyes, look at yourself first, mind your business, and do with your hands. Because if you're going to judge me, first of all, assess your life before you going around and pointing the finger and telling me that I'm not doing my job, because I'm doing what God asked me to do. And if you have a problem with that, as I said, take it to God, who's the author and the creator of my faith, and not you. So this is my rant for today, that if you are still struggling as a woman, being criticized because you decided to be a stay-at-home mom, or you decided to be a career woman, either way, a woman is always going to be judged. If she decided to be a career woman, she is going to be criticized and says she is so selfish. She is not putting her husband first, and she's not taking care of her child. And then if you decided to be a stay-home mom, which is the greatest gift you could ever have, is to be a mom. There's no other job in the world that I have never been so privileged to be with, is a mother. That is something that no money can pay you. It's the job of being a mother is far greater than clocking in, clocking out, because you clock in, you clock out, you're done for the day. But a mother's job is never done. I am on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. If my son needs me, I'm going to go come running at his beck and call. And if he's sick, I'm also there at all times. When my son was struggling with eczema, I was awake 2 hours to soothe him with his pain, because he was scratching all day, all night long, and I have to rub him with his lotion, coconut oil, talking about the sacrifice of what I have done. I'm not saying to brag about here, but I'm saying this. I'm sick and tired of people trying to tell you of what you should be doing and how you should live your life when they can't even do that themselves. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, and then you marry someone who is so oblivious and blind to the things that you have done. And this is the frustration that some women do have, especially in the church, when the world comes against you and says, why is your wife not having a job? Why can't she get a job like everybody else? And do what? And have your husband come home, clock in, clock out, and then watch TV the whole day and do that again and again. And he wants to be served. He wants the food ready by the time you're there. And I mean, I've done that before too. You know, it's like you get a job, you work from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning, you come home and you have not enough sleep. You only have 3 hours of sleep because you have to take care of your toddler. At that time, my son was still little, and you have to cook, you have to clean, all of these things. And now, because some men are so boyish, They don't want responsibility. Now they are moaning, crying baby. They are just entitled. This is what I want girls out there to know. Before you choose a man, you really make sure you lay it all down. But the problem is some men are liars. Unfortunately. It doesn't matter if you tell me the whole story and tell me about yourself. Some men are just good at lying, and they will never tell you the whole details because they want something from you. And it's so sad that that's a kind of Luciferian, satanic, Satan is so prideful. After he gets from you, he steals, he kills, and he destroys. He steals you, he kills your dream and your career, and then after that he just dump you away. Do you see that? So tell me if this society is the kind of world we should be looking up to. I'm not going to look for advice from anyone else, but only in this Bible. Because I know that God is so pure and he does not lie like people do. So if God says you are where you're supposed to be, do not let people condemn you or judge you. If your husband or your family or your in-laws have problem with you being a stay-home mom, it is between you and God. That's what the Bible is clear. Aspire to live a life where you have to mind your business. This is between you and your husband, and no one should come between you, because the Bible says a man should leave his father and mother and cling to his wife. Another thing, a man is mother that is babies, right? They're the kind of child that has bond with their mother, and they cannot leave. They cannot go because of that bond with the mother that is so toxic. Because what happens to a mother that has a husband that's passive aggressive, he was not there all the time and he just stand there and do nothing. And then she turns to the child, the son, for comfort, for help. And that's the problem that I see, is that the mother has a twisted relationship with the son, hoping that the son is going to come and be the husband, not sexually, but just to do things for him and talk about these things, which is not how God created to be. And you wonder why there is friction in the marriage between in-laws. There's friction in the marriage between daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, because the relationship is convoluted and the man doesn't know where his priority is. If a man is a mama's boy, don't be surprised that his priority is of his mother, not of his wife. This is the hard lesson that I have to swallow and I have to learn. When you are a golden child, a mama's boy, on top of it all, it becomes chaos. It creates conflicts in marriage because your husband now is in the middle of it all. And that's what the Bible is so clear. A man should leave his mother and father and cling to the wife. I'm not saying to leave location, but leave direction of where you should priority first. I'm not saying that you should disrespect or disregard your mother. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you must have conversation with your wife first of all. And this is what you should clear. But the thing is, you don't see that from your husband, because he goes to the mother for advice. He goes for the mother for the problem. He will never tell you everything. And he will, instead of consulting you as a wife, because two flesh become one, he consults his mother. He tells his mother more about problem. So that is where the problem lies. So this is why, ladies, before you start saying I do to a man, especially in this generation we're living in, I know that as much as you want to pray hard and says, God, please find me the right man to think, I guess really it's just time can tell. Time, people change, because that's why your worth is not contingent upon a man. You must put your trust and faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, because even if a person leaves you, a man decides to divorce you or want nothing to do with you, you have God to rely on. That's what happened to the Samaritan at the well, which I love to say, because the woman at the well is a very good illustration of how she put her trust 5 different husbands, and finally she had a one man that she was living currently, and Jesus pointed out to her, bring me your husband. When Jesus encountered her at the well, Jesus said to her, where is your husband? And she said, I have no husband. And Jesus said, you're right. You had 5, and now you have 1 that you decided not to marry anymore because you got tired of marrying the 6th time, because she was putting her trust and her faith in a man. You cannot trust your worth and value in a man, ladies and gentlemen, because a man is flawed. He is fallible like you and me. He is never perfect. This is why a lot of women gets ruined. They get depressed. They get suicidal thoughts because they put their trust in a man when a man is not God. So this is why, if I'm telling you that if somehow comes to shove, when you're gonna get a divorce, if a man leaves you, you're fine. It's okay. If that's what he wants to do, let him go. You cannot force people to stay in your life who are not supposed to stay in your life. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna die alone anyway. So who else gonna be there for you? According to Psalm 121, I look upon the hills, for where does my help comes from? My help comes from the Lord, who is the maker of heaven and earth. Therefore, if you are struggling, that you're just putting your trust and you're putting your, oh, my value is found in a man, and if he's gonna dump me, my world is going to fall apart and I'm gonna stop breathing. Honey, your breath does not come from a man. It comes from God and God himself. You're still alive today because he didn't take away your breath last night. Just remember that. Man did not give you life. I'm not saying that I should be hating men. I have nothing against men. I only have against men who are irresponsible, who are narcissistic, who will never take accountability. They need to grow up. Boys, think of a man. We need to raise up this awareness, because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's struggling with this issue of men are now so coward. They don't want to take on the big pants and they just want to leave a woman hanging. And now they're gonna, that bitches, I'm sorry for the word out there, if there's a children, the B word, women are not created to be a B. She was made to become one. When you encounter a narcissist, you become a B. You have to fight back and you become so defensive, because what else do you have left? Because if you don't fight back and you don't become feisty, then you're just going to crumble and die. This is why some women, they become tough, they become masculine, and they become a B because of some men that are narcissists, that they will tear you down, take everything that you have, deplete you of your energy, and then after that, they're just going to dump you. So this is why you have to stand your ground, know your worth, not in men, but in Christ and Christ alone. And that is my preaching for today, my dear friends, that your life, you are fearfully and wonderfully made in the eyes of God. So please, if you ever going to find someone, make sure that he do have godly qualities, because Paul said, do not be unequally yoked with the unbelievers, because what is light and darkness got to do with each other? You cannot agree. And some people who marry someone who is not equally yoked and is not Christian, well, don't get me wrong, some Christians too who pretend to be Christians are also toxic. There are some men are like that too. That's what I'm saying. It's like either way, you will be tested. However, you must keep the faith. And the only one that you should rely upon is the Lord Jesus Christ and him himself, because he said, I will fight for your battles. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I am going to go before you, beside you, and behind you. And no matter what happens in this life, come hell, whatever it is, God is going to be there for you no matter what. So I will see you on my next video. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. And as always, subscribe and share, whatever. Just do whatever you please.